Quick, James, let's jump in this boat. We gotta get away from the Somali pirates. Oh man, what a close one. That's the last time I ever take you to Bermuda. James? James? Ah, dang it. Looks like you got caught by the Somali pirates. Well, as always, you know what that means. It's time for another solo episode of On the Go with Jacob and James. Hello everyone, and welcome to On the Go with Jacob and James, but in this case, it's just On the Go with Jacob. I hope everyone's been having a wonderful week. I know there's been a lot of headlines and celebrities getting in turmoil and all kinds of controversy lately. I had a bunch of stuff I wanted to talk to James about, but, obviously he's wrapped up with the Somali pirates, so we'll get to those eventually. But I do want to hit on one story that came out recently about the new Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man show on Disney+. I have yet to watch the show. I couldn't review it for you at the time of this recording. But the big article that came out, it was first featured in Collider and then it kind of got spread out over the internet, was the voice actor Hudson Thames did an interview with Collider, and in the interview, he made this comment about the writing. I thought it was awesome. I mean, my biggest fear was that it was going to be annoying and woke, and it wasn't. And I was like, yes, this is great. It's so well written. Like, it feels real. I'm the oldest of 5 boys, so I feel like I kind of know what's happening in their lives and in high school, and it felt like I was doing it justice. Now, obviously, the biggest line here was, my biggest fear was that it was going to be annoying and woke. And of course, people are reacting to that, and they're already calling for him to be fired, and they're saying like, well, if you thought it was woke, why'd you do it, and blah 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 blah. And I mean, he also voiced Spider-Man in the What If season 1 episode, I think, about the zombies, the Marvel Zombies episode. Obviously he's been with Disney for a while, if he's done Spider-Man voice work with them before, so he kind of gets what Disney does. And Disney, of course, is under fire a lot from certain groups for being too woke and being too inclusive and trying to push, some kind of agenda or whatever. But really, they barely do it for one thing, Disney. And another thing is, it's just a sign of the times, man. It's just, people want to be included in things. All right, there's other people in the world. We gotta spotlight these folks, these individuals. As a business, you want to cast a wide net to get the most people in. That's why it always bothers me when people have this argument like, oh, they're pandering. Yeah, everybody panders. That's what businesses do. They pander. They try to market things specifically to different groups of people to get them to buy their product. It is pandering. Of course, you have your heavy-handed stuff, and obviously some things work out less than others. There's some examples out there which I don't have pulled up at this moment. If I were a better broadcaster, I would. But I've seen it before, where obviously companies try to do a certain thing and then it doesn't work out well with that group of people that they're trying to target, right? That group of people is like, no, it's a little too heavy-handed. I don't like that. It feels bad. Like, people will call it out when it happens. But anyway, everyone's on the internet anyway is seemingly upset about this comment because, Coleman Domingo is playing Norman Osborn, and that's a race-swapped character already. So by certain definitions, you could call that woke, right? And I think people are focusing on the woke thing a little too much. I'm focused on the annoying part. It's interesting to me because Hudson Thames is in his 30s. Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man is about a teenager in high school in 2015 to 2020-ish, depending on whatever year this show is set in. I know it's supposed to be like a branch from the MCU stuff, so if we're following that timeline, it's probably like 2015. Either way, this man was not in high school in 2015. He was an adult. He was doing adult things. He was probably acting. I'm sure he was acting. He's an actor. And you get a little out of touch, right? And as an adult, or anybody in their 30s, that you could look at the younger generation and just be like, I don't understand what they're doing. That's a natural thing, right? People, you grow up and you look at the younger people and you're like, I don't get it. You know, why are these kids watching Skibbity Toilet? Why are these kids, you know, doing Mr. Beast challenges and whatever? And that sounds really out of touch coming from me. I get it. But that's my point. I don't know. I think he meant annoying and woke as in just annoying and something he can't relate to. You know what I mean? Because at a time, like, look, this guy's 30. I'm 32. We would have been in high school around the same time. Woke wasn't a thing. You know, it was a very different time. It was early 2000s when we started high school. Early 2000s was a wild decade, honestly. Like, you look at the media from those years, very different, very edgy, edge of the seat kind of humor. I mean, we had Tropic Thunder come out. Robert Downey Jr. was in blackface. That's probably the last time that you could see blackface and then not ruin your career, or the last time you could do blackface and then not ruin your career, right? Because Robert Downey Jr. also did Iron Man that same year, and no cancellation. You do that today, canceled immediately. So 2000 was a different time. A lot of people from that era do have a different way of thinking, and I think some people have a hard time kind of bringing themselves to the modern day. And I always say, like, you know, adapt or die, right? You kind of have to keep going with the times, otherwise you're going to become like an out of touch old man. I don't know if this rant is making sense, but I'm getting to a point. You have this adult man playing this high school kid. So I imagine when he gets a script, he's like, oh, it's going to be a bunch of, like, you know, Fortnite references, or it's going to be like streaming references and stuff that I'm not really akin to. And I kind of think that's what he means. I don't think he means woke in the, you know, the dog whistle type thing where it's like, oh, there's black people and there's gay people, it's woke. I don't think he meant it like that. I think he just meant like, oh, I thought the script was going to be an annoying teenager and, you know, super hip and super lingo and all this stuff. Because woke used to mean, like, hey, I'm hip, I'm woke, I'm for the times, right? So I kind of think that's what he meant. I think that's where he was going here. He even said it himself in the interview, right? He's like, yeah, I read the script and it was really well written. And that's the important part that people are missing. He read the script and he thought it was well written, right? Like, that means he read it and he was like, hey, this is about a bunch of teenagers, but I can relate to this. He also said he has brothers in high school, so I don't think he's like that separated from modern times. But he probably does see the cringy stuff they do. You look at anybody in high school and it's just all cringe. You think about the stuff you did in high school, it's all cringe. I think that's what he was getting at, and obviously the internet being the internet kind of just like misconstrues everything, or they just focus on this one line about him being like, oh, I thought it was woke, or I thought it was going to be woke, and blah, blah, blah. That's my opinion on this. I don't know if it makes sense. I don't know if it's too ranty, but that's kind of what I was thinking. And the important thing to remember here is that Spider-Man is a property for children. Spider-Man is always going to be predicated towards the younger audience. Like, say you get a new audience like every 5 to 10 years, essentially, right? And so a friend of mine had made the comment, like, hey, why do they keep putting Spider-Man in high school? You know, like, why can't we see an adult Spider-Man? It's like, well, my friend, we're in our 30s and we're adults and we are no longer the target audience for this character. Some of us have kids and some of us will have to watch the show with our kids, but we're still not the target audience. And I think people forget that. I think people forget that, like, oh, this thing I grew up with is no longer for me, and I hate it, and they ruined it. I don't know what's going on, but people are having a hard time growing up. That's what it feels like. And sometimes I have a hard time doing it. Like, when I first saw the trailer for this Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man show, I was just like, it looks all right. But, you know, obviously, I'm not a modern-day teenager, so I'm going to look at this and be like, they're using hip lingo, and they're using, I think he fights, like, some streamers, right? And obviously I can't relate to that very well, so I'm just like, whatever. But a younger person is going to relate to that. They're going to like that because that's what they watch. Like, that's what they watch now as streamers. And it reminds me of when I went to go see Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. And I think I talked about this on the show with James. Like, when I watched it, it didn't click for me. It didn't. It was a movie. I was entertained, but at the end of the day, like, I don't think I was really enjoying it. I don't think I would watch it again. That's not to say it's bad. That just means it's me realizing I'm not the target audience for that, right? Because, like, they're using the modern day lingual. I think Mr. Beast was in it. very much like, hey, this is what kids like these days, so we're going to put this in this movie. There's nothing wrong with that. You have to have that. I can't go see a Ninja Turtle movie and expect the 90s movies again. That time has gone. Now, movie companies can make something for me like that. I think they're talking about doing a Last Ronin movie, which is like this dark, gritty version of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles where one of the turtles is still alive. It's like an Old Man Logan type story with Ninja Turtles. But even then, I don't know if I want to see that kind of movie, right? Because, like, why do I want to see that grown-up version of these characters? I just want to see the fun characters that I grew up with. And I can still watch those old movies and still enjoy them today. Not everything needs to be for me, about me, because I'm not the target audience for that anymore. I think people just forget, man. Like, people just hang on to their childhood things and don't want to share with the next generation. And that's kind of where this woke issue is coming up. It's not a matter of, oh, they made it too woke. It's like, oh, they didn't make this for me and I'm angry about it. And this is how this is how I'm sharing my feelings. It's not a very good way to do it, right? You need to sit down and evaluate, like, well, why did they make it like this? Oh, because I'm 30 to 40 and I'm not the target audience for this. That's just what it is. People are so rage filled, and I think it comes from content creators just peddling anger, because I see a lot of that these days, and I try to come at everything with like an open mind, or I try to, come at it with like some sort of understanding of, well, why did they do it like this? I mean, I've defended the Sony Spider-Man universe a lot. I didn't trash it as much until a certain point. And I mean, even then, I look at those movies and it's like, well, they did try something different, and I can respect that. Other people, they will make rage content about it. You won't stop hearing rage content. People are still making rage content about Kraven the Hunter. I think that's the main issue with people, is we want to be angry about things, and I don't know why. I don't know why people want to be so mad. I understand there's awful things going on in the world and we can't control it, but when at the end of the day, like, this is just all entertainment. You sit down, you watch a show, you like it, you don't like it, that's it. You don't have to like write a dissertation and film yourself reviewing it. We don't have to do this. You can just be like, hey, I watched it, this is what I liked, this is what I didn't like. You should watch it. You should, form your own opinions. I remember the days of Nostalgia Critic and Angry Video Game Nerd, for one. They would make this angry, like, oh, this movie was so bad and blah, 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 blah. But then at the end, they would give like an actual review of the product, right? Like, they were characters, and then they gave their real life reviews at the end. That seems to have stopped. There's so many just angry people out there that just do anger, and it's not fun, it's not creative, it's just peddling anger, and I don't think that's very good. I don't think that's very productive. I don't think that's a good way to review things. You can't review art with a closed mind. Same thing with the Spider-Man show. You can't look at this actor's like statement with a closed mind and just be like, oh, he wanted to dismiss it as woke or whatever, but he didn't, right? He read the script and it was well written and he went for it. That's the important part, that it was well written. So even if it was like quote unquote woke or too modern or too hip or whatever, this guy read the script and he's like, you know what? I'm not the target audience for this. I've got brothers who would understand it. Even though I don't understand them, they would get this. So I'm going to do this. I don't know if this is going to be seen me as defending him. I'm not trying to defend him. I'm just trying to make sense of like this one statement from this one interview that everyone's blown up about, because God forbid Spider-Man have an easy thing. He's so controversial, from this TV show to the Spider-Man universe, the Sony Spider-Man universe, to even the Spider-Man 2 game that came out like last year, almost 2 years ago now. People hated that for no reason, and almost seemingly for the same thing. Like, oh, they kind of went woke. You play a side mission as a deaf character. All right, it's a side mission. I don't know. It's not the main game. They don't stop you from doing the main game to play this character. So it's I don't know, man. People are doing too much. People overthink. People over-examine, and maybe that's the industry we're in, is to like examine these things and dissect it and talk about it, and people like that, or people don't like that, or whatever. But I just don't think it's a big deal.
Godspeed, Spider-Man.
On the go, or in the drive-thru.
I'll take a number 7.
What?
A 7.
What?
7.
What?
7.
A what?
I said a 7.
With Jacob and James.
A what?
All right, and before we get out of here, I'm going to do everybody's favorite segment that I do, Manga Minute. Today we're going to look at the manga Immortal Hounds. And I just started reading this. I don't have a full review for the series. It's like a 7-volume series, but I'll read you the premise. In another reality, humans never die. If they get sick or injured, they simply kill themselves and immediately come back to life. But then a mysterious new disease, resurrection deficiency syndrome, starts spreading through the populace via vectors. The Anti-Vector Police Task Force is determined to solve the mystery of how RDS spreads, but the escape artists, who use violent means to rescue vectors, seriously hamper the police's efforts. And just how do the escape artists always beat the cops to the scene of the crime? That's the premise on the back of the book. This book is written by Ryo Yasuhachi. I probably butchered that. That's probably the worst way to say that name. But I read the first volume recently. I'm going to start reading the second volume pretty soon here. And I enjoy it so far. It's like if you've ever read Death Note, it has that like cat and mouse kind of game to it where you're following the protagonist and the antagonist and you're watching them try to outsmart each other. It's got that kind of vibes, but it also has like an Attack on Titan kind of vibe to it. Not so much like there's giant monsters killing people, but if you've ever seen Attack on Titan, when you get to like the third season, or I don't know where that is in the manga. I've seen the anime. But when you get to about the third season, you kind of find out some things about their history, that there's some revisionist history kind of going on in the storyline. And I feel like that's what's going on here. And that does interest me. It's ultra violent. It's very adult. It's not for children. 16 plus is on the book, but they're dropping F-bombs. They're dropping SH bombs. Like, very adult, very bloody, but also interesting and entertaining. And I do want to finish this series because I want to see where this goes. They do have a sequel series based from the Vector's point of view. So that's also kind of interesting. I don't know if it's necessary. When I finish the series, maybe I'll pick up the sequel series. Maybe I won't. Who knows? But as far as the first volume goes, I did enjoy it. If you enjoy a cat and mouse kind of detective-y vibe, maybe pick up this book. It's got loads of action in it because the police task force, they try to like capture these vector people, and then the escape artist shows up, and it's all like bullets and gunfire and all these things. So very good, very interesting. Recommend it. Check it out. Immortal Hounds. And hey, that's all I got for you today. Just a 20-minute rant on the Spider-Man show and a manga review. I'm gonna go save James from the Somali pirates, and hopefully he'll be back with me next week. Hey, without further ado, if you want to email us, you can email us at onthegopod2023@gmail.com. Let us know what you think about these solo episodes. Maybe you have specific topics that you want to hear my opinion on, if you like my opinions on things, right? So just let me know what you want to hear me specifically talk about, and I'll do that on solo episodes on these rare occasions that I do have to cover for when James is being held captive by pirates. You can also find us on Instagram. It's On The Go with Jacob and James. It's all one word. You can also follow us on YouTube. Obviously, episodes get put out there. That's where Joel and the Monkey lives as well. Joel and the Monkey also has their own separate podcast page. It's Joel and the Monkey, or I think it's On The Go with Joel and the Monkey. One of those two, it should pop up. Those episodes come out once a month on Wednesdays. Not any specific day, just a Wednesday when I have content to put out. So, without further ado, I'm on the go. James is on the go with the pirates. We are all on the go.